Chaim. So as Yaakov is traveling with his family to meet Esav, we're told that they crossed over a river, and Vayivaser Yaakov Revadoi Vayavik Ish Imay Adales Hashachar. Yaakov remained alone, and a man wrestled with him the entire night until the morning. Who is this man? Who's the man? The Torah doesn't tell us who this man is. So Rashi comes along, and Rashi tells us that it was actually an angel. And it wasn't just any angel. It was Esav's angel, right? Who is also known as the Satan, the Yetzer Hara, the angel of death, right? The worst of the worst. If you're trying to imagine an angel, this was the worst angel there could possibly be. So the obvious question is, first of all, if it's an angel, why does it say it's a man? Why doesn't the Torah tell us who it was? And if, for whatever reason, we find a few places the Torah refers to angels as men in the Torah, but how do we know which angel it was? Rabbi Chaim Halberstam, the Rabbi Chaim Utzanz asks, where does the Torah should give us some clue, some way to identify which angel this is and who this man is. So it was Yom Kippur in the morning, and everybody was in shul with their talis, their kittles, right? Everyone was fasting, and this was in the main shul in the city of Liozna. And all of the Hasidim of the Alter Rebbe had come to spend Yom Tov with their many, not all, but many Hasidim of the Alter Rebbe had come to spend Rosh Hashanah with their Rebbe and Yom Kippur. And the Alter Rebbe himself was in front of the shul wearing his kittel, wearing his talis. And if the Alter Rebbe throughout the year could be compared to an angel, right, and Yom Kippur itself, when everyone is like angels, can you imagine how holy the Rebbe was sitting in front of the shul? All the Hasidim were watching the Rebbe. He's davening, and suddenly, in the middle of davening, the Alter Rebbe stopped, and he took off his talis, and he took off his kippel, and he stood up, and he walked out of shul. Chassidim are a little curious. Where's the Rebbe going? And one of the Chassidim decided to follow him, right? So he followed the Rebbe at a bit of a distance. And he sees the Rebbe goes to his house, and he comes out of the house a minute later holding an axe. And Alter Rebbe walks to the edge of the city, to the outskirts of the city. There's some in the forest, and Alter Rebbe starts chopping wood in the forest on Yom Kippur, on Yom Kippur morning. And Alter Rebbe takes the wood that he finished chopping, and he goes to a little house at the edge of the town. And in this house, there's a woman who had just given birth to a child, just given birth to a baby. And
does it say if it's a boy or a girl?
Doesn't say if it was a boy or a girl. And she had no one to take care of her. And she needed something hot, something to drink, something to warm her up, and some food for herself so she'd be able to nurse her newborn baby. And Alter Rebbe comes in, and he takes the wood, he puts the wood in the oven, and he lights a fire, and he starts preparing some food for this woman to eat on Yom Kippur. After the Alter Rebbe finishes, he gets up, he goes back to shul, and he continues davening. And of course, this chassid goes around telling everybody what he saw. After Yom Kippur, some of the chassidim went to the Alter Rebbe, and they said, if you needed somebody to prepare food for this woman, we could have found somebody. It's not like we couldn't find help to get her better food. Why did the Rebbe have to leave shul in the middle of davening, in the middle of Yom Kippur? And the Rebbe says when another Jew's life is in danger, right? It's written that the greatest Talmid Chacham, right, the greatest tzaddik, right, is supposed to put away all of his personal mitzvahs that he wants to do. He's supposed to push away whether it's Shabbos, whether it's Yom Kippur, in order to help the Jew who's in trouble. And this is something which the Alter Rebbe himself embodied, and he didn't just embody it himself, but he also taught it to his children. Tonight is the birthday of the Alter Rebbe's son, the Mittler Rebbe. Now, the Mittler Rebbe was known for his tremendous devotion when he learned. He was so involved in his learning. And he was known for his tremendous power of concentration. When he was engaged in studying, it was as if the whole world didn't exist. And one day, when he was a young man, he was sitting and learning. And he was very involved in the learning. And he didn't notice that in the next room, his baby in the next room had started to cry. Right? The baby had started crying. What happened was the baby was in the crib, and the baby had decided to crawl out of the crib, and the baby fell on the floor, and he started to cry. And Rav Doivber, who would later become the Mittler Rebbe, was sitting there and learning, and he was so involved in his learning, he didn't hear anyone crying. He didn't hear. Right? It's not that he chose Chas v'Shalom to ignore the crying child. He was so involved in his learning, he didn't hear the crying. Now, upstairs, on top of the Mittler Rebbe's apartment, his father, the Alter Rebbe, lived. And the Alter Rebbe was also a middle of learning. He was also deep in concentration in the learning, but he did hear the cries of the baby. And he stopped, he closed the sefer, he went downstairs, he picked up the child, comforted the baby, and then he turned to his son, and he said, "My son, Rav Doivber, no matter how deeply involved you are in your learning, in your prayer, in your service of Hashem, it should never stop you from hearing the cries of a Jewish child." And in addition to teaching this lesson to his son, we find that he also taught this lesson to his grandson. Alter Rebbe's grandson, the Tzemach Tzedek, was actually raised by the Alter Rebbe. And later, when the Alter Rebbe, after the Alter Rebbe passed away, his grandson, the Tzemach Tzedek, Rabbi Nachum Mendel, was very attached to his grandfather. And even after his grandfather passed away, the Alter Rebbe would occasionally reveal himself to the Tzemach Tzedek, to his grandson. He would reveal himself to him and learn with him. And the Tzemach Tzedek would actually, whenever he would learn, he would prepare questions. Things that he didn't understand, he would prepare questions, and later when his grandfather would reveal himself to him, the Tzemach Tzedek would ask these questions from his grandfather. And this is a regular thing. Every certain period of time, the Alter Rebbe, who had passed away a few years earlier, would appear to his grandson. And this went on for a few years. After 3 years, suddenly it stopped. Revelation stopped. His grandfather stopped appearing to him. And the Tzemach Tzedek was very disturbed by this. Right, he wanted to see to connect with his grandfather, Chaim, and he began praying to Hashem that his grandfather should reveal himself to him. But nothing happened. A long period of time passed, and Alter Rebbe did not appear to his grandson, the Tzemach Tzedek. Finally, the Tzemach Tzedek decided he has to do something about it. He decided he's going to dedicate a few days to studying and to praying to Hashem. That Hashem should allow him the merit of a revelation from his grandfather. So the next morning, he got up early in the morning. Of course, he went to the mikveh, he studied Chassidus, and then he went to shul to daven. And he was preparing for have such a davening. He was going to daven on such a level, right? He was going to pray to Hashem that he should be worthy of this great revelation. And as he's walking to shul, he notices a commotion. The market is starting to open. It's a big fear, and people are coming in to buy and sell things. And of course, the Rebbe Tzemach Tzedek didn't want to even look at what was going on, so he walked right by. But as he's walking by, he was approached by a merchant, Reb Mordechai Eliyahu, and he says, "Rebbe, maybe you could lend me a few rubles so I can do business in the market at the fair." And Tzemach says, of course, I would love to help you, but I'm going to shul right now. I'm going to be finished another hour and a half. You can come. I'll give you whatever you need. And he goes to shul, and he starts preparing to daven. He takes out his talis, and he starts picking up his talis to cover himself with his talis. And suddenly he thinks to himself, "What did I just do? What did I just do?" This Jewish merchant is waiting there in the marketplace. He needs money so that he can buy something and sell something, earn a living for himself and his family. And he comes over to me and he asks me for help. And what do I tell him? I'm about to daven, come later. How could I tell him such a thing? How could I tell him such a thing? First of all, who knows if he's going to be able to earn money there, right? The market and the fair, you got to be early to get the good deals. right? You can't come later. I can't come back in a few hours. And the Gemara in Bava Basra tells us that Rabbi Elazar, every morning before davening, he would go to give a coin to a poor person. That's the best preparation for davening. So how can I send them away? So Tzemach Tzedek takes off his talis, he folds it up, and immediately he goes home. He gets 5 rubles and he goes to the marketplace, which is now bustling with people, with businessmen, with merchants, buying and selling, and he runs around looking until finally he found Rav Mordechai, and he gave him the money, and he comes back to Shul. He's hoping he's still going to find a minyan, right? It's already pretty late. They already started davening by the time he came back. So he's going to find another minyan, and he comes in and he starts putting on his talis, and as he puts on the talis, his grandfather, the Alter Rebbe, appears to him. Right? His grandfather, the Alter Rebbe, appears to him, right? And he says, the great elevated davening that you were imagining, right? You wanted to daven on such a holy level to merit this revelation. He says the true way to merit a divine revelation is by helping out another Jew, right? By saying my davening is not as important, I can daven a little bit later in order to help another Jew. Right? And the Tzemach Tzedek would later say over the story. And he said, helping another Jew earn a parnasa, even if it's a small little amount, right, will open up all the doors to the heaven, to the highest chambers in heaven. And this is something we all have to realize. We all want to serve Hashem, right? We all want to daven, we want to learn. But what happens if I'm trying to serve Hashem and there's somebody else who needs help? And I feel that helping the other person might distract me from my service of Hashem. Right? How do I approach such a situation? So we have to realize that pushing away our own avodah, right, our own service, is what actually helps us achieve the greatest revelations. Rabbi Yisrael Salanter was once walking on Erev Yom Kippur. He walked into Shul on Erev Yom Kippur, and there's this man standing in Shul, a very devout, religious person who's preparing for Yom Kippur. And someone walks over to this man and says, Good Yom Tiv, right? Erev Yom Kippur is a Yom Tiv. And the man goes, A few minutes later, another guy walks over, Good Yom Tiv, Good Yom Tiv. I don't know what his name was, whatever. What should we call him? Yankel. Yom Tiv, Rabbi Yankel. Yankel goes, So Yisrael Salanter notices what's going on. He walks over to Rabbi Yankel. He says, Good Yom Tiv, Rabbi Yankel. And Yankel goes, So he goes, what's So Yankel starts motioning to the Rebbe that, he's doing, in order to prepare for Yom Kippur, he decided to do a tainis dibur. He decided to go a whole day without speaking a word of mundane talk. He was only going to speak holy things today, right? So, he tried to communicate this to the Rebbe without saying a word, right? So Yisrael Salanter says, and if you decided to be extra holy today, is that my fault? Is that his fault? Right? Since when does your holiness give you the right to turn down another Jew who wishes you good Yom Tov? Rab Shlomo Rabinowitz, who was also known as the Tiferes Shlomo after the Sefer he wrote, was the Rebbe of Radomsk. And he had many Hasidim when he first became Rebbe. Many Hasidim gathered around him. And on Pesach, many of his Hasidim from all over came to spend Pesach with their Rebbe. And on one hand, it was a very, very special thing. So many Hasidim to come and join him for Pesach. But on the other hand, the Rebbe felt that he didn't have the opportunity to focus on his own, to lift himself up and to focus on his own service of Hashem, right? He has so many Hasidim who he has to teach, who he has to talk to, who come to him for blessings. He felt that he wasn't able to properly prepare for his own Yom, to celebrate Yom Tiv on his own as he would have liked. So after Pesach, 7 weeks after Pesach comes Yom Tov of Shavuos, and he notifies Hasidim that for Shavuos, he's not, nobody should come to him for Shavuos. Right? Now, the Hasidim didn't really listen. This message he sent out didn't really work, and Hasidim started to come a week before Shavuos. Hasidim started coming from all over to be with their Rebbe, right? And the Tiferes Shlomo wasn't very happy about this, so a couple of days before Yom Tov, he packs up his suitcase, he gets onto a wagon, and he leaves town. He traveled to Tzanz. He traveled to his Rebbe, the Divrei Chaim, the Tzanzer Rebbe. He wanted to spend Shavuos with his Rebbe, right? So he comes to Tzanz, and the Divrei Chaim sees him, and he says, I don't understand. Don't you have Hasidim waiting for you at home? So he says, yeah, but I spent Pesach with them. Last Sukkot they came to me. For Shavuos, I wanted to, have uplifted Shavuos with my Rebbe. So the Divrei Chaim tells him, if you look at the pasuk, at the psukim, where Moshe Rabbeinu is preparing for Matan Torah, right? Moshe Rabbeinu goes up to the mountain. He goes to Hashem. Hashem sends him back to the Jewish people. He goes up and down a few times in the days before Matan Torah. So the pasuk says in Shmois Yotes Yudalid, Vayered Moshe min hahar el ha'am. Moshe came down from the mountain to the nation. So Rashi says, why does the Torah tell us he came down from the mountain to the... I know he was on the mountain, so if he came down, I know he came from the mountain. What is it, from the mountain to the nation? So Rashi says this pasuk is teaching us that Moshe Rabbeinu, while the days before Matan Torah, didn't get involved in his own personal affairs. Instead, he went straight from the mountain to the people. So the Divrei Chaim says to Reb Shlomo, the Radomsker Rebbe, the Tiferes Shlomo, he says, I don't understand, what is Moshe's personal affairs? What do you mean? Moshe didn't get involved in his own personal affairs. What were Moshe's personal affairs? Right? Moshe's about to go up on the mountain on Har Sinai. Why would I think that Moshe would get involved in his personal affairs? So the Torah is telling us that Moshe Rabbeinu knows he's about to go up on Har Sinai. He's about to spend 40 days with Hashem on top of the mountain. So you might think that Moshe should say, let me spend the next few days in seclusion, elevating myself, lifting myself up, so I should be ready to receive the Torah. So what does the Torah tell us? No, Moshe did not do this. Moshe did not get involved in his own personal affairs. He says, yes, I want to have I want to lift myself up in order to prepare myself properly for Matan Torah, but right now I have a job. As my role as the Jewish leader takes precedence. There are Jews who need my help. I have to help them. I have to go straight from the mountain to the Jewish people. And the Shlomo got the message. He stood up and he went back home and he spent the Yom Tov with his Hasidim. And this is really what's going on with the angel who is wrestling with Yaakov in this week's Parshas. So the story is told that a rich businessman, we'll call him Reb Baruch, visited the city of Tzanz. And while he was there, he went to the Divrei Chaim, Chaim Halberstam, the Tzanzer Rebbe, to get a blessing, to get a bracha from the Rebbe. And he comes in, and the Rebbe starts asking him about himself, about his business, about what he's doing, and he tells the Rebbe that he's here on business. He comes from the city of Lemberg, and he's traveling here on business, and he wants the Rebbe's bracha for his business affairs. So the Rebbe hears that he's from Lemberg. He says, you're from Lemberg? Maybe you could tell me, how's Reb Zelig the Melamed doing? And Baruch's like, I think he's okay. What's the story with his daughter? I don't know. He was here a month ago. He came here a month ago. He told me that his daughter was engaged. She was supposed to get married, but before the wedding, he had to put together a certain amount of money for the wedding, right? For the dowry. And it was getting he told me it's getting already close to the wedding. And he wasn't able to put together the money. And the other side was threatening to break off the shidduch. And he came to me, he asked me for help, and of course I wrote him a letter, I gave him a small donation, I gave him a letter of recommendation asking people to help him. And so I want to know what's going on. Did he manage to raise the funds? What happened? And Baruch's like, I don't know. He says, now that you mentioned it, I remember a few weeks ago he was going around the shul, he was collecting, he asked me for money. I think I gave him a donation, but I don't really know what happened. So the Tzanzer Rebbe looks at him. His eyes are wide open. He says, I don't understand. I'm sitting here in Tzanz, right? Maybe tens, maybe hundreds, I don't know how far it was, miles and miles away from Lemberg. And a month ago, Reb Zelig came here to ask for my help. For the last month, I haven't been able to sleep because I've been worrying about Reb Zelig. And I'm worried about what's going on with him. And you live in Lemberg, and you tell me you have no idea what happened with Reb Zelig? How is that possible? So Baruch, he starts thinking. He says, "Listen, Rebbe," he says, Rebbe, you have to understand, your job as a Rebbe is to listen to people, and people come and they tell you all their problems, and that's your job. You have to listen to everybody's problems, and you get involved, and you try to help them. But me, I don't, it's not my thing. I don't go around asking people what their problems are, what challenges they have. I'm a busy guy. I work all day, right? I'm a busy guy. I sit and I work all day. And I don't really have time to talk to find out how everybody in town is doing. And the only time I really see Reb Zelig is in shul, right? In shul, I go into shul in the morning, so I see him. But Rebbe, when I'm in shul, I come to shul to daven. I don't spend my time in shul talking to people, right? And if there's extra time after davening, I sit down, I take a sefer, I sit and learn, right? I don't waste my time asking people how they're doing. Right? I don't waste my time asking people how they're doing. I spend my time in shul davening and learning. So I have no idea how Reb Zelig is doing. So the Rebbe looks at Baruch and he says, wow, you're saying that all of your free time you spend trying to learn and daven? That's amazing. If that's the case, then you must be a big Talmid Chacham. And Baruch smiles a little bit, such a compliment from the Rebbe. He says, listen, I'm not a big Talmid Chacham, but Baruch Hashem, I try to learn as much as I could. So the Rebbe says, wonderful. So now that I have the opportunity of seeing such a big Talmid Chacham, maybe you can help me understand the Rashi in this week's Parsha. So Baruch's like, listen, I don't know if I can help the Rebbe understand Rashi. I know how to learn, but I'm not that big. So the Rebbe says, listen, but if you know how to learn, you can help me out with this. He says, in this week's Parsha, right? We learned that the man appears and wrestles with Yaakov, and Rashi comes along and he tells us, who is this man? It's an angel, but it's not just any angel. It's the angel of death. It's an angel of destruction. It's Esav's angel. Now, in next week's Parsha, we have another story, and the story is about Yosef, right? Yosef is wandering around trying to find his brothers, and he's lost. And the Torah says that Yosef was lost in the field, and a man found him. Vayimtzaehu ish. A man found Yosef. So Rashi comes along, and Rashi says, who is this man? It was also an angel. Who is this angel? Not Esav's angel. This angel is one of the holiest angels in heaven. That's the angel that stands on the left-hand side of Hashem. The angel Gabriel. So I have a question for you. The Torah, by both of these stories, the Torah says there was a man. It doesn't say who it was. How does Rashi know that one angel is the angel that stands on Hashem's left-hand side, the holy angel Gabriel, and the other one is the angel of death and destruction, Esav's angel? How does Rashi know? So Baruch says that's a good question. I don't know. How does Rashi know? So he says, I'll tell you, I'll explain it to you. An angel's job is to serve Hashem. Right? All angels do that, from the greatest angel to the lowest angels. Their job is to serve Hashem. So what differentiates the angel Gabriel from the angel of death? Let me tell you. The answer is, how do they interact with it when they're busy serving Hashem and they see someone who needs help? How do they respond? So in next week's parsha, you have the angel Gabriel who's traveling on a mission for Hashem. Sent Gabriel on a mission, and it says Gabriel found Yosef, which means it wasn't his mission he wasn't sent to help Yosef. He was on a mission from Hashem, and he noticed Yosef in the field, a little boy who's lost, who needs help. So what does he do? He says, I'm on an important mission from Hashem, but let me stop whatever I'm doing and see if I can help this boy. So if you see an angel who's in the middle of serving Hashem, and he stops serving Hashem to help out a boy who's lost, you know that must be a holy angel who stands on the left-hand side of Hashem. This is the angel Gabriel. But on the other hand, in this week's parsha, you have another angel. He comes, he has a mission to wrestle with Yaakov. Okay, he finishes his mission, right? He finishes his mission, and Yaakov turns to the angel, and he says, can you please give me a blessing? What does the angel say? I'm sorry, I gotta go. I gotta go sing Shira to Hashem. I have to go pray to Hashem. It's the morning. Look, he looks at his watch. I'm sorry, I gotta go now. I have to go pray to Hashem. I cannot help you.
That's not
right? Yaakov has to grab him and say, no, I'm not letting you go. When you see an angel who says, I can't help you because I'm on my way to pray to Hashem, he's also an angel, but that's Esav's angel. That's the angel of death. And this is what the Parsha is telling us, right? On one hand, it calls him an Isha man. Perhaps the Torah is telling us that each and every one of us, right? We're men, we're people, but we could also be like angels. But the question is, what type of angel do we want to be? Do we want to be an angel Michael, an angel Gabriel, right? Who's busy serving Hashem, and we see another person in trouble. And we see whatever we're doing, in the middle of davening, we're going to stop, we're going to put down our talis, we're going to run out and try to help another person. We're in the middle of learning Torah. We hear a Jewish child crying and we rush, we close our sefer, we rush to help the crying child. If that's the case, then that's a holy angel. That's one of the archangels who serves Hashem, who stands on the left-hand side of Hashem. But on the other hand, if we see another Jew in trouble, right, and we say, I'm sorry, I can't help you, I need to go daven, I need to go learn, I can't say good Yom Tov to you because I'm doing a tainis dibur, I'm trying to be extra holy, then you're still an angel. You're an angel, but you're the angel of death and the angel of destruction. And we have to decide what type of angel do we want to be. So to conclude with a final story, Rabbi Yaakov David Kalish was the son of Rabbi Yitzchak of Wurka. He became the Amshinover Rebbe. And one morning, the Rebbe was in the middle of putting on his talis, and he heard a woman outside crying. She wanted to see the Rebbe. And the Rebbe's Gabi is outside, and he's like, I'm sorry, the Rebbe is starting to daven now, you got to come back another couple of hours. And she says, no, I have to see the Rebbe right now. And he says, listen, whatever you need, I can help you out. No, I got to see the Rebbe right now. So the Rebbe takes off his talis. He comes outside. He says, I'll speak to her. And the Gabi says, Rebbe, but you have to start davening. So he says, I know that I'm about to start davening, but if there's a woman who needs to see me, I have to see her. Right? She says it's urgent. So the woman sees the Rebbe. She says, oh, Rebbe, you got to help me. I don't know what to do. My children are hungry. We have no food. We have no money. So the Gabi says, I told you I can give you some money. If you need some food, I'll give. She says, no, I need to speak to the Rebbe. Rebbe, I need you to help me. So Rebbe says, what do you mean you need me to help you? How? What happened? Why this sudden need for money, for food? And she says, Rebbe, listen, I'll tell you. I have a brother. My brother Chaim lives in the city of Krakow. And until recently, he was supporting us, right? Every week he would send us a couple of rubles for me and my family. But suddenly he stopped. He doesn't want to support us anymore. And I don't know what to do. I don't want to go around collecting tzedakah for my family. My children are hungry and I need money. So the Rebbe says, why did your brother stop supporting you? What happened? So she says, well, you see, my husband is a bit of a drunk. And my brother said he doesn't want his money to be used to buy alcohol. Right? He's been supporting us, but he feels that his money's not being used properly. So the Rebbe says, okay, if that's the case, he says, I'm going to go travel to Krakow right now to speak to your brother. So the Gabi says, Rebbe, I'll start davening. The Rebbe says, no, davening could wait. The Rebbe gets in the wagon. They travel to maybe the train. I don't know where they traveled. They traveled to Krakow, and the Amshinav Rebbe immediately goes to the Rav of Krakow, the Rabbi of Krakow. He tells him why he's here, and both of them together, the Amshinav Rebbe and the Rav of Krakow, go to visit Reb Chaim. Reb Chaim is shocked, right, to see these two prominent guests at his door. He quickly invites them in. He prepares tea. He brings tea to serve the Rebbe, and the Rebbe says, I'm going to drink the tea on one condition, that you commit right now to give 3 rubles to your sister and brother-in-law for the next 3 years. So he says, Rebbe, I was doing that. I was supporting them, but you see what's happening with my brother-in-law, right? He's a drunk. He rolls around in the mud and the streets, vomiting. I should support that? And the Rebbe says, you're right. You're right. You shouldn't be. That's not something you want to support. But I give you my word. I'll take responsibility for it. I'll make sure. I'll keep an eye on your brother-in-law. Okay. If the Rebbe takes responsibility, of course. I'll give whatever money you need. The Rebbe says, no. I need the down payment now. I need 1 year of money on the table now before I drink my tea. Okay, so Chaim rushes into the next room. He comes back with the money. The Rebbe said, I want you to sign a contract for the next 2 years, right? And then the Rebbe drinks tea, and they go back, and then he gets back in the wagon. They go back to Amshinov, And the Rebbe goes to speak to this woman's husband, who's drunk. And the Rebbe says, listen, I was just in Krakow. I spoke to your brother-in-law, and he agreed to send money. But you got to stop your drinking. And he said, listen, I tried. Rebbe, I tried to stop. Relapsed. I went to the, 10-step program. It's not really working out. And the Rebbe says, listen, we're going to work on this together. We're going to work on this together. I need you to give me your word right now that you're going to do everything you could, and we're going to work together. I want you to come to me every day, give me a report of how things are going, and we're going to make sure that you get over this. And when he gave the Rebbe his word, the Rebbe gave him the money that he had received, and then the Rebbe went to daven. Now this was already after Chatzos, so it was too late to daven Shachas. The Rebbe had to daven 2 minchas. He had to daven mincha twice. Right? But the Rebbe recognized that even though he was about to start davening, if there's a woman who's crying, a family who needs help, right? A true angel of Hashem, right? You could be the angel of Esav who says, I'm sorry, I can't help you now. I'm about to daven. Or you could be the angel Gabriel who says, I'm in the middle of serving Hashem, but I hear another person, a Jewish boy is lost. Another Jew is in trouble and I want to help them. And so the lesson for all of us is that, first of all, the first lesson is we can all be angels of Hashem. We might think we're an ish, we're a person, we're a man, but we are all angels of Hashem. Hashem gave us the Torah and mitzvahs, and we have the ability to serve Hashem and become just as holy and even holier than angels. But we have a choice to make. What type of angel do we want to be? Do we want to be the angel Gabriel, who sees another Jew in trouble, who hears the cry of a Jewish child and rushes to help them? Or, chas v'shalom, do we want to be the angel of Asa, right? Who says, I'm sorry, I can't help you now, I'm about to daven. And as the Tzemach Tzedek said, if we choose to be the angel Gabriel, to say, I'm about to daven, but I'm going to go stop to help another Jew, then the highest, holiest chambers in heaven are opened up for us. L'chaim, l'chaim.